guys, I apologize for all these reviews being done in the same time. It's raining quite a bit out here. I was hoping it would let off, but it's actually only gotten worse. So instead of working on the shelter, I'm going to do a few reviews, and today's review is going to be on the Wenger Hiker, I believe it is. It's either the backpacker or the hiker. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've had this. This is actually, so sorry about the huge planes flying over today, but like I said, it is not a good day for other videos, so I'm going to be doing a review on this Wenger Hiker or backpacker. It's either one of those names. I thought it was Hiker, but when I tried to find Hiker, at least on eBay, I could not find anything under the name of Hiker. So maybe it isn't, or maybe this one's just incredibly rare. But anyways, this is a Wenger, in case anyone's wondering. That's why it is a black scaled model and has this type. Wenger is now part of Victorinox, and I don't believe they actually make this model. But if you can find this model on eBay or anywhere, I would highly recommend this Swiss Army knife in particular. And this, for me, is really perfect out for being a bushcrafter or outdoorsman. This is really the perfect sack or Swiss Army knife. That is why I would recommend this is the perfect knife for an outdoorsman bushcrafter, is because it has really every tool that I've ever needed / wanted in a Swiss Army knife. Do keep in mind, I would definitely be running something like an axe like this back here if I was running something this small, or probably even a larger knife. But first, to start off, it does have your normal blade, and it just has this blade. There is no pen blade on this knife, but it has just this blade. Then it has a nail file, and this piece here does not serve as a smaller flathead. This actually does come to a tip. I think you guys can see that. Then it has one of my favorite things in comparison, or running with everything else, is the scissors, spring-loaded of course, very nice. Something I did always find interesting about Wenger is they actually have serrated edges. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but these are actually serrated scissors. It's something really interesting. I'm not sure what the real difference is between them. I don't find them to cut any better than just normal scissors, but they do have serrated edges. And then you have a very nice full-on saw, and this actually draws from here, like so. That this thing is very large, at least in consideration for the entire body. This thing really runs the entire length, and I like that really clever idea of making the nail nick on this side, and so that you could get every single centimeter out of this saw. And of course, this does have an extremely sharp 90-degree angle, so this is also the striker for any ferro rods. It works very well. Then coming over to this side, you have your normal bottle opener / flathead, and then one of my favorite can openers is Wenger's. I'm not sure if the late Boy Scout also talked about this. I think his is as well, the Wenger. But if you ever see a Wenger can opener, or you ever get to hold one, you'll really like them. They are actually extremely sharp. This thing comes to a very fine tip, even finer than the Leatherman. I think I can pull up the Leatherman really fast here. So there's the Leathermans in comparison. They're pretty similar if you look at them, but this one, it does not hurt at all to put your thumb on the tip of it, and this one actually hurts a lot. This comes to a serious tip, and so I really love this can opener, though I don't really open cans, and though I think the world has kind of gone away from cans, the necessity of a can opener I don't think is as important anymore. Still, if you're going to have a can opener, might as well have the best. So lastly, or not lastly, but next is the awl, and I really do like this awl. Oftentimes, I think we don't use awls enough, but I do use them occasionally, especially when I make different birch pouches or things out of birch, paper birch. This is a really handy tool to punch birch and leathers. And then lastly is the Phillips head, just a normal Phillips head. And I really like this Phillips head over a Phillips head that's on this. That one is less versatile. Sorry, this does have the flat head on it right now. But because of this large clunky system here, I find that you can't get as good a reach into tight spaces. And I find this most notably on guns, like getting into screws around the trigger guard and stuff. This is pretty much impossible to do it with. This has always worked very well in those situations. And I do also want to mention, of course, like pretty much every other Swiss Army knife, there is a toothpick, and there used to be tweezers here. There is no longer. I do find it pretty interesting how these pull out. You actually have to reach on the inside and pull them out instead of like how in a Victorinox, they're more on the outside. You just pop them. Pretty interesting. That was the same goes with the tweezers. Were the same way, but obviously I lost them. And then has a cool partial lanyard here that you could add on to. But overall, this was my first, like I said, knife for the outdoors, the first tool for the outdoors, and I've had this for over 7 years, and it served me really well. I don't use it much anymore, but it served me very well, and I really like the Hiker. The only reason I've now switched over to things like the Surge is just for the fact that when I'm out here, my 3 most used tools are, and this is of course as a multi-tool, I use my own knives, not necessarily the knives on these tools, but the first is the saw, and the second is pliers. So for a while I was able to actually go without, like I could use this, I was able to go without the pliers, but eventually I started really needing pliers for doing many different tasks out here, and so it just became too great, and so I eventually had to switch over to a multi-tool that had pliers. This was not my first multi-tool that had pliers, but I did have to switch over to something that had pliers, and so that's why I run something like this. Anyways guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that comparison and the showing of this Wenger Hiker or backpacker. Still don't know the name. Like I said, I want to really call it the Hiker. That's what I thought it was. But if you can find them nowadays, I believe these are discontinued. I couldn't find them on the internet really anywhere. If you can find them, definitely get them. They are really awesome, and I really like this setup for all the tools it has. And